Hello everyone, welcome to Algebra 1 with Miss Betsy. We're finally at the end of Chapter 7 in our text. What we're going to be doing today is graphing multiple inequalities on the same xy coordinate. If you are using the same text that I am, we are in section 7.10, page 374-75. I'm using Algebra 1 for Christian schools. It's published by Bob Jones University Press. I'm using the second edition. Don't have to use the same book. If you're trying to figure out how to graph inequalities on the same axis, watch this and you'll get a good quick introduction to it. I'm just going to breeze right through this video so that my kids have something to look at to refresh their memory. Okay, I apologize for my crooked grid here. Don't have a straight edge, don't have my grid paper. We have a system of inequalities that we're going to graph on this same coordinate system. You remember a while ago we said, okay, we know how to graph on a number line x is equal to 2. We know how to graph x is greater than 2. And we knew, and we had learned how to graph the equation of a straight line that said x plus y was equal to 2. We solved that for y, putting it into the slope-intercept form of the line, and we saw that that would be the graph of a straight line. And then they mixed it up a little bit and said, well, what if, instead of it being a straight line, what if we wanted to graph the inequality x plus y is greater than or equal to 2. How does that graph? And you'll remember that we learned that what we do is we graph the inequality just as though it were a straight line. Solve it. Solve this for y, and we're going to have y is greater than or equal to negative x plus 2. If there's an equal sign included in your solution, the graph of the line itself is a part of the solution. So how would we graph this first equation here? The 2 tells us that this inequality intersects the y-axis at the point 0, 2. Our negative 1 tells us that we have a downward slope of negative 1. Now if I had my straight edge, we would connect those 2 dots with a solid line because y can be equal to that. So the graph of the line itself is a part of the solution. So I'm just going to eyeball it and y'all can just laugh. You, however, are not allowed to just eyeball it. Use your graph paper or grid paper and a straight edge. This is the graph of the inequality y greater than or equal to negative x plus 2. So we've dealt with the equal part, that's the straight line. But what does the greater than part do? Remember, this is where we picked a test point. And we like to pick the origin here because it makes your arithmetic really easy. And we plug in to the original inequality, we plug into the original inequality values of 0 and 0 for y. This is what we do for our test point. We have 0 plus 0. Is that greater than or equal to 2? Does it work? Is that true? Is 0 greater than or equal to 2? No. So what that tells us is that the test point is not a part of the solution of this graph. So none of this area is going to be a part of the solution. That means the opposite area, the opposite side of this line, is a part of the solution to the graph, to the inequality. Now what do we do? And that's what we would do, what I taught you to do, if we were simply graphing one inequality. Now, we're graphing a second inequality, and when we did 2 equations, we saw that we were looking for a point where those lines intersected or overlapped. That's what we're going to look for here. We're looking for the same place where the graphs of these inequalities overlap. So what do? I cannot believe that I highlighted this in blue. This is supposed to be the blue equation. Blue. You can use colored pencils at home. It looks really cool. You can use just a black pencil and cross-hatch it differently. Now we have x minus y is less than 4. We're going to put that into slope-intercept form. You have y is less than negative x plus 4. Negative y is less than negative x plus 4. We have to solve for y, not for negative y. So when we divide both sides of this equation by a -1 or multiply by a -1, remember that the direction of the inequality reverses when you multiply or divide by a negative number. I'm going to put this little note here. Reverse the inequality when multiplying or dividing by a negative. So now we have a pure inequality. It does not include the equals there. When you have an inequality that you're graphing that does not include the equal sign, do you remember what you do? Yeah, that's right. Instead of having a solid line over here, you have a broken line. How do we graph y is equal to x minus 4? The y-intercept is a -4. The slope is a +1 up and over. If I had my grid, it doesn't look right to me. Up 1 over 1. Go that way. Going to have a broken line because the line itself is not a part of the solution. Now, are we finished? No, we need to see what region of this graph. Is it the part to the top of the line, to the bottom of the line that is a part of the solution? Once again, we're going to do our test point. We're going to use 0, 0. Test point. 0 minus 0. Is that less than 4? Yes, it is. So what does that mean to us? Well, since the test point is a part of the solution, that means that all of the area to this side of our dotted line is a part of the solution. And what do we see happening? We see that we have this area that has the two colors on. Whoops, get back in the picture. We have this area here that has both colors. So the solution to this inequality is the area where the shading overlaps. So none of this is part of the solution. None of just this plain blue area is a part of the solution, but only the place where the shading of these two graphs overlap. That's what your solution is. And that's all you're going to be doing in section 7.10. It doesn't matter if you have two inequalities, 3, 4, or some bizarre number of inequalities. If you're trying to find the solution, you're looking for the area that is shaded by every single graph that is a part of your problem. So go ahead and make sure you understand that. Don't have to do homework for section 7.10, but make sure that when you're doing your review that you understand how to graph multiple inequalities on the same grid. Have a great afternoon.